All right, the WayneFeeds Daily Podcast with our special guest, Dr. Cory Campbell. Ask Anything and the Haven Block Party, remembering Aretha Franklin. Join us for this episode of the WayneFeeds Daily. Check it out. Exalting God in the way you live, exalting God in the decisions that you make, exalting God in the relationships that you have, exalting God in the vision and the purpose and the direction of your leadership.
I just waved you. That means you're invited to church on Sunday.
The only limit that you have is your ability to receive. Only God could take something old and turn it into something new. You need the pep talk from Pastor Wayne saying, you can do it. Come on, man. We're going to live for God. It's going to be amazing. You hang 10 toes off the front of your board. And I'm centered on Christ, even though my situation is not. We're in for a ride. All right, everybody, welcome to the WayneFeeds Daily Podcast. I am your host and friend, Dr. Wayne Hansen from Summit Church of Castle Rock, and we've got a great show planned for you. You can hit me up on Twitter at Pastor Wayne H and follow the podcast. If you go to your podcatcher, most people have some kind of app that they use on their phone or on their laptop where they listen to podcasts or subscribe to podcasts online. Search us at WayneFeeds, all run together, WayneFeeds or Wayne Hansen, and you'll be able to listen to the podcast, subscribe to it, hear new episodes as they get uploaded. Today's episode is brought to you by Campbell Chiropractic, whom you're going to hear a lot about today as we talk with Dr. Cory Campbell. Campbell Chiropractic, whether you're searching for a back pain relief, alternative treatments, or holistic chiropractic care, we have you covered. And Dr. Cory is going to tell us a whole lot more in this episode. We're also brought to you by Summit Church of Castle Rock, meeting 10:30 Sunday mornings at Castleview High School. I'm in a series right now called Ask Anything. Ask anything. Have you ever gone to a church and wished you could raise your hand and pause the sermon and talk to the priest or the pastor and say, hey, I have a question. Hey, can you answer this question from the Bible? Or I have a question about God. Here's a quick stinger promo for the Ask Anything series. I'd love to have your input. Message me or comment me your questions for this series, answering actual questions that people are asking about God in the Bible. All right, so today in the news, it's been kind of a crazy few. Good to see you, Lee. Good to see you, Trent. Several of you guys jumping here on Facebook Live. I'm glad you're watching. I pulled up this article, and sorry, Facebook, I did not flip it on the camera, so you're reading marijuana backwards, but it says Marijuana, the Medical Movement. And we want to talk a little bit about CBDs and THC, and there's this whole time, they have an entire time issue dedicated to the medical marijuana and the recreational marijuana movement. Here's just a few of the titles of articles written in this about 120-page edition. It says, The Healing Power of Cannabis. I use pot for my health. Keeping kids safe. Can cannabis tackle CTE? An NFL star in his marijuana journey. I mean, there's so much going on in sports, and this is such a part of the political scene here in Colorado. What are some of you, like if you have some of your, I know that Dr. Cory, you have opinions about this.
Well, absolutely.
And what are some of your thoughts about cannabis and about the healthy use of it, and what's good and what's bad about what's happening?
You bet. So we carry in our office some CBD oils, and it does vary from location to location. So when you go to a dispensary, most of those dispensaries are going to be a higher THC product versus a high CBD product.
And maybe for folks who aren't in the marijuana world,
yep.
just
I'll break it. Yeah, I'll
define the difference.
I'm going to break that down for you.
Yeah.
First of all, and the thing that before I got into it and had it in my office was I had to learn what the difference between marijuana and hemp was, because they are not the same plant. Most people think it's the same plant, it's a different part, it's a different piece, and it breaks down into two different pieces or two different things, but they're actually two different plants. So a marijuana plant and a hemp plant are actually two different things. Hemp plants are very tall, very big, a lot of stalk to them, and a lot of the CBD is in the stalk of the plant. So when they express or pull those CBDs out, they're pulling that out. They were made illegal at the same time because hemp had some THC in it.
Right. So THC is the part that the psychoactive comes from.
Psychoactive piece.
And the CBDs is more of where the medicinal non-psychoactive.
Correct. The healing.
Chemicals.
The CBD really is the healing piece of what is healing in marijuana, and also in hemp. And it's in both. Marijuana has CBD, but the typical difference is hemp is very high in CBD and very low in THC. Marijuana is the other way. You have a high THC and a low CBD count. So when people go and use the marijuana and like, oh, it's healing, it's this, it's that. Well, marijuana, yes, it has some healing factors, but people are really going for the high piece of it all in the end, because they could certainly get the high CBD count without the THC, without the high.
Right.
And as people go, oh, well, we're trying to get higher levels of CBD in our marijuana. Well, it's already in hemp. It's already in high levels of CBD is already in.
It's in the stalk already.
It's already in the hemp product, which doesn't get you high.
Right.
So a lot of people are like, well, I'm not interested in just the CBD and just the hemp because I don't get that psychoactive portion of the process.
Right.
So
I've got some friends out in Grand Junction and in ministry down through the years. Now I've been in full-time ministry since 1993. So I've and a lot of that time was here in Colorado, and a lot of folks that I've talked to, and especially from Colorado and west to California, there are some people who've gone like on the crazy train when it comes to marijuana, saying, well, it cures cancer and it's a government cover-up, and if you would just ingest enough marijuana, all the cancer cells would be destroyed in your body. Is that true? I mean, it almost seems like that's like the pendulum swinging the other way.
It's completely the other way, and there are definitely restorative pieces to the process. Our bodies all have CBD receptors in there. And the THC side of things, the benefit of having THC in, because there are CBD products out there that are THC free. You don't have any THC in it. The problem with that is the CBD oil has a difficult time crossing in and being absorbed into the tissues of the body without some THC.
Gotcha.
So that THC product has a definite benefit to it to get it into the tissues and into the body for the restorative, reparative pieces that it provides. But the high levels of THC, the benefits of that are limited. It's more the CBD that's the beneficial piece. So we found that people with just low amounts of THC, which comes in a hemp plant, that is one of those things that does get into the body very well, does a really good job, and no high is actually required.
Right. But a person who is suffering, let's say, from a very painful cancer or like... Is there a problem with someone being on chemo and taking CBD/THC at the same time for pain relief?
Absolutely not. And in that process, we actually just got a product for a patient of mine that does have cancer, and they're getting in the higher dose CBD product that we have. It definitely has some THC in it. They use THC to help them sleep at night, calms the mind, that type of thing. That works well as well. So there are definitely those beneficial factors on the cannabis side. And cannabis technically, I believe cannabis technically takes on anything that has THC in it. So hemp, marijuana, all those things are going to fall under the cannabis umbrella in the process.
Right. So I mean, and I before I was a Christian, I used to smoke a lot of weed. But what I can tell or what I figure out is that it seems like it opens blood vessels and causes you to just
vasodilation.
Yeah, and so, but there are different strains that had different effects, from what I could tell.
Right.
And certain strains felt like I would take on a paranoia, where another strain would make me feel relaxed. Can you maybe discuss the difference between those?
Actually, for me, I don't, because I never followed it. I never was into it. My brother could probably tell you. He was Mr. I have ADD, I have ADHD, I was on Ritalin as a kid, so the only way I function or work well is if I smoke pot, because it's the only thing that really calms him down and focus and things like that. So he could probably describe that more than I could, just for the fact that the experience side of things. For me, I never experienced, I never really looked into it, and it wasn't until people are asking me to carry CBD product in my office that I didn't look into it. I didn't know, because it was never something that I did or had.
Right.
So for me, I can't explain the difference especially on the THC side. CBD can be very relaxing without the hallucinogenic piece of it. So CBDs can be relaxing. They're anti-inflammatory, reducing inflammation in the body. They help direct and give the neurological system. It's reparative to the brain, reparative to neural tissues. So there's CB receptor A's, which are in your neural tissues. There's CBDBs in your periphery and your other tissues of your body. So it has actually different receptors that turn different reparative things on in different parts of the body.
Right.
And then they break it down. There's A, B, C, D. There's a whole bunch of different ones out there.
Right.
And it gets into so many different strains, processes.
Yeah, and of course, I mean, the serious weed smokers out there know the difference between indica and sativa, and that one tends to create your massive firing of the brain, and another one seems to really just shut it down. And so I could see how one would be really good for someone who is suffering with pain and intense pain, and the other could actually intensify it or make it worse, because you would end up focusing on the pain too much, and it could actually make you suicidal or paranoid or in a terrible place.
I've never heard that happening in that process, but it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, I think one of the big things that we have had happen here in Colorado when we first legalized recreational, there was a whole bunch of police reports that people who were experimenting with edibles ended up going through these paranoid, delusional episodes where they were, the cops were being called, and domestic disputes, and these, because people thought everyone was out to get them. I think there was a guy who actually shot his wife and shot himself, paranoia is real. I mean,
it definitely is.
I mean, it's not something that's just psychological. It really does. I mean, it happens when you affect the chemistry in your brain, in your body, for sure.
So,
yeah. So
I had a friend who used an edible, and he was just having the little squares, the little brownie squares, and they're like, oh, it has this much in it. And he took one, he took another little bit, and here and there. And he's like, this isn't even doing anything to me.
So he ate the whole thing.
So then he ate some more. Yeah. And he ate some more. And then by the time that they showed up to his house, his wife and the kids showed up to get him for this, that, whatever else, he was literally in a fetal position on the floor crying. Right. Because too much hit him too fast. And it took him a while to come out of that. He's like, he hasn't touched it since.
Because it hits your bloodstream, but it takes a while when it goes through the digestive system versus when you smoke it, it goes immediately into the bloodstream. So I think a lot of people who have used cannabis in the past don't realize the difference.
How fast it affects
the body, and how violently it can hit you later if you're ingesting an edible.
Yep, absolutely.
So all right, so let's get into our next segment, and we'll get into our longer conversation here. We're going to talk about today's inspiration and motivation. I always like to do this real quick, and of course we have different segments of the podcast, and one of the things that I love to do is look at the 1-year Bible, and I always call it God's email for the day. Today is 2 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 31. It says, so whether you eat or drink, how appropriate for what we're talking about. So whether we eat or drink or whatever we do it all for the glory of God. Don't give offense to Jews or Gentiles or the church of God. I too try to please everyone in everything I do. I don't just do what's best for me. I do what is best for others so that many may be saved. There's something really powerful about living your life conscientiously, realizing that other people are watching, that your children are watching, that your neighbors and friends are watching, that if you run a business, the other people in your life, hopefully they're trying to follow your example. And today I have a really special tribute to the Lady of Soul, the Queen of Soul, Aretha Franklin. This is going to lead into the song of the day. Normally I play the song of the day, but there's no way I can top what you're about to hear from Aretha Franklin. So it's time for the song of the day. I love Aretha Franklin, it was about a week ago that I watched the original Blues Brothers movie, John Belushi and Dan Aykroyd and Ray Charles and all these amazing musicians, Cab Calloway, all these guys from the original, bebop and blues era and Motown. And I pulled this video. Many of you know that Aretha Franklin just died from pancreatic cancer yesterday, and I love her gospel stuff. Some of the best gospel music has come out of Detroit and Aretha Franklin. I want you to see just a few minutes of Rock of Ages as she plays and accompanies herself in one of her old churches. Check this out.
Go to G sharp. Go to G sharp. Right here. Put it right there.
So good. She's a very talented musician as well as a talented vocalist.
For thee, let me hide, Lord, let me hide myself in thee.
Unbelievable, man. Unbelievable, right? What a talent. What a loss. We think about what she brought to the table musically, both to pop music, to gospel, to the scene of American music. And I think one of my favorite songs that she sang was "A Freeway of Love" in a pink Cadillac. I remember that particular one of those. It was in the early 90s. I was working near South Bend, Indiana, in a car wash. And that summer, I washed 5 different pink Cadillacs. Like 2 or 3 of them had Mary Kay stickers in the window.
Nice.
These ladies were out selling Mary Kay and making it all happen. And it was just awesome. So Cory, tell me a little bit about your practice and what you've changed the focus a little bit of Campbell chiropractic over the last few years. You primarily did chiropractic, but now you've kind of moved into other things. Tell me a little bit about it.
So as a chiropractor, it was one of those things when you went to chiropractic school, everything should be repaired, fixed, corrected with chiropractic care. As much as you can give them, adjust them, 5 times a week if you need to, and they'll get better from chiropractic care. And as I got into practice and it got real, some things didn't always get better. They didn't always improve. They didn't always do as good as they should do. And for me, that ended up making me look a little further. So we looked at acupuncture. We did a little acupuncture, and I learned that acupuncture and chiropractic will get a similar result. If they feel better for 4 or 5 days with chiropractic, they'll feel better for 4 or 5 days with acupuncture.
It's temporary.
Very. And usually the process or the piece that's missing is our body. Chiropractic's simple. If you adjust the body, it has all parts and pieces it needs. It'll go through a healing process, and that it doesn't take 1,000 adjustments to actually get that person to improve and get them better. If we improve joint function, we get the body doing what it's supposed to be doing, it should go through a healing process. So for all those people who weren't going through the healing process and were coming in, 2 and 3 times a week and coming in every week over and over and over again, made us think, okay, what is missing? And I literally fell into it by chance to nutrition. This was about 12 years ago that I fell into nutrition. And it was one of those things that nutrition has it's such a huge, broad spectrum. I mean, just the CBDs, just the marijuana and that type of stuff. There's no supplements for that. There was no supplements for that stuff that was missing in our diet. prior to the last few years when people are starting to get that going. And speaking of that, and the confusion is, yes, in Colorado, is marijuana legal? Yes, marijuana is legal. Is it legal in 28 states? Mm-hmm. But guess what? CBDs are legal in all 50. People don't know that. People don't know that hemp is legal in all 50 states. We can ship it, we can send it, we can put it out there to all 50 states. Just because marijuana isn't legal in all 50 states, the hemp is, and the CBD is.
I just was at Costco recently. I've been on the keto diet, which is low carbs, no sugar, healthy fats, and very little dairy. Like I can have the dairy products, but not whole milk if I do milk, but not much of it.
Grass-fed dairy. If you're going to have dairy, it's got to be grass-fed.
But what a product that I saw on the shelf that piqued my interest was hemp hearts, and they grind them up almost like cauliflower or rice. And when I looked on it, was almost no carbohydrates and a lot of protein. I'm like, man, this is totally on the keto diet.
Yeah, we throw that in our salads all the time.
Salads, okay. Because I'm like, what do I put this in? Do I cook it as rice, or what do I?
No, you throw it in. Just throw it in raw. So the more you cook things, the more you distract from its nature. For instance, we drink raw milk.
Yeah.
When we have milk, we get raw.
Non-pasteurized.
Non-pasteurized. And the only way to buy that in the state of Colorado is to own a share of the cow. So I pay a fee for the maintenance of the cow for every half gallon of milk that I get.
And is it shipped to you? How do you?
Nope. There's a co-op in town that I go to somebody's house. I pick it up every Tuesday, and that's the way we pick up and get my raw. So I get a gallon of raw milk every week.
Wow.
And we take that home, and we share it, and we use it, and the kids use it, and it's got good bacteria in it, so it helps the gut health. The proteins haven't been affected by the pasteurization process.
Yeah. Is that more expensive than regular milk?
Okay. Just a bit. Just a bit. Yeah, I think a regular, even a gallon of, I want to say a gallon of Royal Crest milk, which is not a bad milk because they keep the hormones out, they keep a lot of the other things out of it. I think a gallon of that goes for about $4 or so, and I want to say a half gallon of my raw is about $6.50.
Wow.
So,
but you're getting the good gut biome.
Yep.
You're not. It's not being zapped.
Yeah.
It's the
it's
good
not being
stuff.
destroyed. The other part of it is most people's milk, and Royal Crest as well, I believe, is a Holstein cow, which makes a different type of protein chain, or the protein casein A. Mm-hmm. And now you hear about these A2 milks. Well, A2 milk used to be casein B, so you had A and B. Now they have it A1 and A2. They're always changing things up. So A2 milk comes from a Jersey cow, and there's another cow out there. I'm not sure which one it is, but there's only 2 cows or 2 breeds out there that make the A2 casein chain.
And that's the one you want.
And that's the one that's more digestible by the body. Oh. So people who have milk and dairy issues can try A2 milk because their body may digest that protein better than the A1 milk.
You might not be lactose intolerant. You may just have an intolerance to a certain protein chain, is what you're saying.
So we're going down a long road here in this process.
Yeah.
But there are multiple different ways to be lactose intolerant or dairy intolerant. So one is the protein chain, the casein A, the casein B, or casein A or A2. And then also the pasteurization process changes the protein makeup. So when you change the protein makeup, now the body may not recognize and digest it, which is also then a dairy intolerance. So you can't process that protein that's in there. Now, if you don't have the digestive intolerance where it's in the stomach, but you have a sinus reaction where you get drainage in the sinuses, that's not the protein. That's the bacteria that's in the milk. And when they pasteurize milk, they kill the bacteria, but they don't remove it. It's technically considered, this will gross some of the people out, but this is considered the pus of the milk.
Wow.
And they homogenize, so that way you can't tell or see it because it's all the same white color. But if you let it sit long enough, you'll see that separation between that clear, kind of the clear.
With whole milk especially.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, with whole milk, you get the cream.
Right.
Usually the separation of the cream. But if you let it go bad, let the milk really go bad and let it separate. It separates between a liquid and more of a white, thicker, milkier.
It's how my Swedish grandmother used to make yogurt.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. So a lot of times when that happens, you're getting the pus of the milk out.
Wow.
the pus of the milk is coming out. That's all the dead bacteria. So your bodies don't realize that it's dead. We still get the receptor sites, and it still responds with the inflammatory response of the sinus drainage. So that's another milk allergy, basically, that can be going on. So I'm allergic to milk. Every time I have milk, I get sinus issues.
All right, I have a crazy milk story and a crazy milk question for you. And this is a long form podcast, so there's no time restraints. If you have to be back to the office, you let me know. We'll shut it down.
I have to be back at the office by 3. Which,
no sweat. We're good.
Which puts me
good.
Done by 2:50 here.
Sure. No sweat. So that I grew up in Detroit, but my wife is from Appleton, Wisconsin. I was a youth pastor in Green Bay, Wisconsin for several years. And my senior pastor's mother was from Sturgeon Bay, Wisconsin. So if you look at the state of Wisconsin, there's this thing that goes into Lake Michigan called Door County. She was from up there, a Norwegian lady, and she got cancer. And one of her dairy farmer friends recommended that she not do the chemotherapy, but she try something first. And what she tried, she couldn't get at the hospital. She went to the local vet at the farm and ranch supply store, and it was colostrum. It was cow's first milk.
First milk, yep.
And she injected herself with colostrum once a week, and they gave her 3 months to live when they first diagnosed her. She lived another 9 years on colostrum.
Yep.
So what is up with colostrum?
So colostrum is the first milk made by mom when she nurses the baby. So colostrum is very high in the immunoglobulins, boosting the immune system. And what they're learning with cancer right now is they're learning that we don't want to kill the immune system. We want to boost the immune system. So they're getting much better results when boosting the immune system versus killing the body with immunoglobulin type therapies where they're putting more good stuff into the body. The problem long term with that is they're doing it consistently long term is autoimmune diseases. Because an autoimmune disease is where the body attacks itself. So if you boost the immune system so high that all of a sudden now it's like, oh, okay, I can go do this and I go do this, and it starts cleaning out too much stuff. Now it can attack thyroid, Hashimoto's, any of those types of things where you have an autoimmune issue going on, the body attacking itself. So that's the side effect then of boosting the immune system all the time. But they're finding that it is much better to boost the immune system to kill cancer. And this is where your keto diet comes in. They've proven that a keto diet improves somebody's chances of dealing with cancer. So that's number one. So a diet high in fats improves the ability to deal with cancer, but cancer likes to feed on sugar. So if we eliminate the sugar, we take the food source from cancer, and then that makes the process more effective. But there's something that you can talk to here in a second, but you can talk to fasting. So fasting in the Bible comes up. It comes up all the time.
Right.
But fasting is huge, and they're actually finding that a fasting body, when dealing with cancer, somebody who fasts, they can deal with chemo treatments better. They can deal with getting rid of the cancer better.
Because you don't get nausea.
Well, here's the thing. It's not necessarily that piece of the food part that makes you nauseous. When you fast, you stress the body. When you stress the body, the cells try to protect themselves. So they actually close up when you're fasting.
Wow.
So when you then get a chemo treatment, the cells of your body that are healthy are closed up, but the cancer cells don't have that response. They don't have a reaction.
Interesting.
Which then means the chemo treatment gets deeper into the cancer cells of the body, so you actually get a better effect because it's affecting primarily just the cancer cells versus all the cells of our body.
Right.
And when you then do that, and you've fasted and you're killing that, now when you stop your fast, your cells, that sick part of going through chemo, your cells haven't been affected as much, which means you don't get as much die-off. You don't get as much, awful feeling afterwards. And great video on Amazon Prime, fasting. So if you have Amazon Prime, you can watch the video fasting. It's a documentary. It's fantastic. If you like that one, then move on to the Science of Fasting, which is a Russian video. And the best part about the Russian video is they go through the mice, they go through all these different things that they did, and it's dubbed over in English. You don't have to read subtitles.
That's awesome.
I know.
So a quick promo for our church then. Every January, we do 21 days of prayer and fasting as we launch into the new year. And of course, fasting is a spiritual discipline because it helps us focus our minds on prayer. We're not distracted by food or preparing food or thinking about food. And I have done the longest fast I ever did with no food at all was 40 days. But every time I fast, what I realize is that after the third day, the hunger pangs go away, the brain fog and the anxiety goes away, and I could go for weeks without eating and just staying hydrated, and I'm in a heightened awareness, and I feel like my prayers have greater focus. I feel like my Bible study and my sermon preparation goes to another level. My strategic planning and my long-range thinking about what are we going to do, the ministry or the business or finances this year, I feel like all that gets quickened and heightened during seasons of fasting. And there's probably a biological reason for that. I don't know if you want to speak to that.
You bet. So in the fasting process, the reason for fasting most cases is many of us have digestive issues. There's many people with tons of digestive issues. And if you consider, show everybody your scab on your finger. Go ahead.
Sure.
See? Look what he did. He got a nice scab on his finger. There he goes. So if Pastor Wayne goes and picks that scab off all the time, it's going to take longer for that scab to heal. So that's why we say leave the scab alone, let it heal, let it fall off on its own. Otherwise, it's going to take longer to heal. Well, when we have digestive issues, when our digestive and intestinal system has an issue or a problem, every time we put food into it, we pick off the scab. So it never gets an opportunity to go through healing process. So all these digestive issues and digestive problems that our bodies have, the more food we put in, the more issues and problems we're going to have because we never get an opportunity to actually heal.
And that's where IBS or irritable bowel syndrome comes from, right?
Many times. And IBS can come up even with putting something in the body that it just doesn't like, and it just wants to flush it out and get rid of it right now. And then when you have that event, then all of a sudden you're constipated soon after or you think you are because you haven't had a bowel movement. Well, that's because the body dumped everything out and now it's got to fill back up. So you may not have a bowel movement for a day or two. Mm-hmm. So then the people go, well, I don't, and then I do, and then I don't, and then I do. And there's your IBS.
Right. Well, that's the other thing about fasting as well is when I'm fasting, again, those first 3 days are hard, but then my bowel movements kind of end after day 5.
Right.
And then it's just fluid.
Yep.
And then the healthier I get, my pee turns clear.
Yep.
And it's like, I know that I'm clear once everything is clear.
Yep.
There's no BMs coming out, and all my urine is just like water.
Yep. And
so
it's clearing the system. You're
that's
clearing
amazing.
the system.
So that's how you know you're clear.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So fasting helps in that whole process of getting the body, and you're stressing the body, and you're getting it to repair. You're allowing it an opportunity to repair. And the more times you eat, the more times you have insulin put into the body. So we're talking people who have cholesterol issues, heart issues, high blood pressure, and diabetes. Those three run together. They're considered the terrible triad. Once person's on a medication for one of them, they'll eventually be on a medication for all three.
Wow.
So that's the process.
Yeah.
And they all three affect each other and how they work and how they function. When you get out of the cycle, so I also intermittent fast. Like today, I haven't eaten anything today.
Yeah, same. I with the keto diet, I've been doing the intermittent fasting. So from 8 p.m. to 10 a.m., I don't eat at all.
Yep.
And then I eat keto from during those eating hours.
Yep.
If I feel like it. But if I don't feel like it, if I'm not hungry, I don't eat.
Right.
But as soon as I feel the hunger pains, I don't starve my body. I try to satiate the appetite, but not overfeed myself.
Yep.
And I know I'm feeling better. I'm feeling stronger. I'm feeling cleaner energy.
You eat till you're satisfied in the process. So the trick there a lot of times is people, when they do that, when they say, well, I'm only going to eat twice a day, or I'm only going to eat once a day. The idea isn't to eat once a day, but eat the same size meal that you would have eaten before, because you can put yourself in a situation of starving the body.
Right.
It's not getting enough calories. So a lot of times, like today, I probably won't eat anything until I eat dinner tonight. So I'll have gone for a 24-hour fast where I'll go from dinner last night to dinner tonight. And when I have that, I'll eat quite a bit. I'll get quite a few calories into my body when I do that. So that way my body doesn't think that it's starving. Mm-hmm. And tomorrow we're going to go play in Waterworld. So we're going up to water, we're going to play, and there's probably going to be food up there, especially food that I don't like or whatever here and there. And who knows what happens. I eat a little bit here, eat a little bit there.
So on a day like a Waterworld day, will you cheat a little bit, or you'll have a hot dog and maybe a Diet Coke or something? I mean, what would you do?
It's never a Diet Coke. It's never a diet anything. So the worst thing that
I have a theory about diet. I think diet actually makes you fatter.
It does.
Okay, please tell me that my theory is right and why it's right.
You want to know why?
Yeah, why do Diet Cokes make you fatter?
So the process is this. One, diet makes you crave more sweet. So the sweet craving goes up when you have a diet product. Diet products also damage the liver and the kidneys, which makes your body unable to actually get rid of its toxins like it's supposed to.
Yeah.
So it damages liver and kidney. So people who are, an alcoholic, somebody who drinks a lot of alcohol, they're damaging the liver. Well, guess what? So are the ones who are drinking diet soda all the time. Diet soda is, as bad as the alcohol when it comes to what it's doing to the liver and the kidneys and things like that.
But moderate amounts of red wine are supposedly good?
We'll get to wine in a second.
Okay.
We'll get to your wine in a second.
Okay. It's Kim's wine,
It's
actually.
Kim's wine. Okay, perfect. Kim's wine. We'll do a promo for Dry Farm Wines here in a second.
Sure.
But the alcohol, and yes, wines can be good for the body. Absolutely. They definitely have beneficial pieces to that. But the diet, it creates that sensation. So a lot of times what ends up happening is they'll have a diet soda, but they don't stop with the diet soda. Then they go into the breads, they go into the pastas, they crave this, they crave more sugars, they crave more sweets. So, and a lot of times if somebody's drinking a diet soda, they're sitting with the diet soda in one hand and the Snickers bar in the other hand. They're craving all of the sugar. And the more sugar you're craving, the more of cycle you're on. And when you elevate your blood sugar and it goes up, so if we look in the camera, it goes up with the blood sugar. And as the blood sugar starts to plummet back down because insulin came up too, and then all of a sudden it starts to dive back down. And once it goes down too low, now you're hungry again. Yeah. So now we're going for the next diet soda and the next Snickers bar.
Right. Well, I have a theory about all this. And again, some of my theories are right, some of them are wrong. But, we have a place here in town called the Castle Rock Homebrew Supply Store.
Okay.
And so I've brewed my own beer a few times. I did an English ale. I've done a mead. And of course, the way you turn anything into alcohol is you get yeast to eat the sugars. Correct. And the byproduct is alcohol.
Correct. And
what you're doing to your body is you're turning your stomach into a little brewery because you got the sugar in there and you got the yeast from the bread, and you're bloating just like when you ferment anything.
You do. Yep.
Your body is becoming a miniature brewery, and you're probably creating alcohol in your own system, and it's probably doing terrible things to your insides.
So, going into that process, you're underproducing stomach acid typically. Because stomach acid will neutralize the yeast, neutralize that fermentation process, keep things from basically fermenting more. So we have acid in the stomach, but probably 50, 60, 70% of our country is out there popping antacids or living on Nexium or living on a prescription.
Wow. 70% of the adult population?
It's ridiculous, the number of people who take antacids.
No kidding.
Maybe it's not that high, but it's probably not high here.
Right.
Because people try to focus on their health a little bit more.
Right.
But then when you start balancing it out with
Georgia, Tennessee, Kentucky, Wisconsin, Michigan, Minnesota.
How many people listen to Larry the Cable Guy and say, "Oh, I can eat all this, and I'm gonna go get my Pepcid or go get my Nexium,
Prilosec,
Prilosec, whatever
exactly.
it is." They live on that stuff,
right?
So now you're not digesting your food.
Yeah.
Because you don't have stomach acid to digest the food. And then once it goes into the intestinal system, it turns more alkaline. And when it turns more alkaline, that's when the fermentation process starts. That's when the bloating kicks in. And that's when all that basically
is probably pushing it further down the system too, right?
You're just rotting in the inside. And you're hungry all the time because you're not digesting your food and you're not getting nutrients out of it.
That's awful.
So nutrients are also need to be digested so we can absorb them and use them in our body.
Right. So my theory is correct.
It is correct. So there is so yeah, exactly. Is it exactly the way it works? Maybe, maybe not. Close, but the idea is there. Yes.
Right.
The body ferments, and there are some people who do have there's a name for it. I can't remember the name of the disease process, but there are people who do ferment so much that they almost can get drunk off of the food that they put in the body because it is
creating so much alcohol.
Creating alcohol. Can't create alcohol in the system.
Wow.
So yeah. So they're like, I didn't drink anything.
That's crazy.
But they have that process going on. So this is where food comes into the process too.
Right.
depending on the food, those Snicker bars, the diet sodas, no nutrient value in this stuff at all.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing in there that's good for you. You are what you eat, gaining weight, all that type of stuff. We added about 12 years ago a program called nutrition response testing, and nutrition response testing gives us the opportunity to do it's a little voodoo-ish in the muscle testing process that we do, but we can check for somebody and see if they're deficient, see if they like something, see if they don't like certain things, that type of thing, see what food sensitivities they have. And what we found with that program is we use a whole food supplement, something that comes from plants and animals.
Yeah.
And guess where Standard Process grows all their food?
Iowa?
Wisconsin.
Okay.
Your neck of the woods.
Yeah, man.
Back where you were from.
Yep.
So most of their food is grown and all that in Wisconsin. And they constantly reintroduce nutrients to the soil, because if there is not the nutrient in the soil, then it can't be in the food. And that's the biggest problem we have with most of our food across the United States is it's not being reintroduced.
Right.
And if it's not reintroduced, it can't get into the product that we're going to put in our mouth. So if we have an avocado field and avocado trees and all this stuff for 30 years they've been growing avocados, guess what? Those avocados aren't going to be as good as the ones in the field over here where they just planted the avocado and that soil had never been used for anything else.
This reminds me of stuff that we talked about on Tuesday that's big news, and it's big federal news, that the federal government approved the lawsuit against Monsanto for Roundup, because they've been spraying Roundup on cornfields ever since I can remember.
Oh, yeah.
And tell me, what do you think is going to come out of that Monsanto lawsuit with Roundup and the federal government and all that stuff?
So Roundup has a product in it called a glyphosate. And what glyphosate is it's basically an antibiotic for a plant. So it kills basically the microbiome of the plant, which makes it susceptible to people who go and clean every cart that they go into and everything they do, they're destroying their own microbiome. We need exposure to bacteria for our body to live and work properly.
Right.
Without it, we end up with warts on our hand. We end up with digestive issues. We end up with all these different things. So the people walking out with Purell and they use that on their hands every time, destroying their own microbiome. They're going to be the sickest people versus the people who don't do anything, like people like me. When I wash my hands,
garden hand.
Yeah. When I wash my hands, it's hot water. Yeah. Maybe a little bit of a non-antibacterial, antimicrobial soap type of a thing, but mostly it's hot water when I'm cleaning my hands off. I'm never trying to change or kill or anything with the bacteria because I need to live symbiotically with it.
Right.
And that's what probiotics are for. So you got all the people doing, I use Purell on my hands every day. I take 5 probiotics because I got all these digestive issues. Well, stop killing everything on your body and start living with life or with the world, and things will work a little bit better.
That goes back to my Swedish grandmother and her homemade yogurt. And I was thinking about yogurt this morning. Was at the store, but I'm on keto.
Yeah.
And every yogurt has like 16 grams, 24 grams of sugar. I'm like, I can't do this yogurt, even though it's got the probiotics in it.
Right.
I can't eat this, or I shouldn't. I'm trying to limit myself to 29 grams or less of carbs a day. Yep. And if I eat one of those yogurts, I'm on my carb limit.
You're done for the day.
I'm done for the day.
You're done for the day.
So how do you? And I know this is gonna. I'm feeding right into your hand here. But how do you get those probiotics without the carbs?
Fermented foods, your sauerkrauts, your kefir, things like that. So you're going for those fermented foods process to get those good bacteria into the body.
So when I'm watching the Packer game tonight, I should have extra sauerkraut on my brat. Is what you're telling me.
That's right, and no bun.
Right. That's exactly how I do it.
Your bunless brat with sauerkraut.
Buns are for fools.
That's right.
Buns are for Bears fans.
That's right. The Bears are here right now. Did you go up and watch them today?
No, they're on the practice. Really?
Yeah. So I think it's week 2 that they do a
exchange or something.
Yeah, like they practice
scrimmage
together.
Yeah,
they practice together. So who are the Packers playing tonight?
And where
are they playing at?
I don't. My son has a schedule and he didn't tell me. He normally tells me.
So whoever they're playing,
yes,
depending on where they're playing at. So if they're playing at Green Bay, whatever team they're playing, the other team was there practicing with them through this week,
right?
And then they'll play their game tonight.
Yeah.
So the Bears are here right now.
Good.
So I know since you're such a huge Bears fan,
I will go bring them some buns.
I know
now.
You should. You should take Kim up and watch the Bears practice with the Broncos.
Yeah, we can boo them the entire time.
There you go.
That would be really, really fun. We could say George Hallis was a jerk.
That's hilarious.
Awesome. Well, man, I know that before we leave, I want to have you do a little promo about what else happening with Campbell Chiropractic and what you're doing with some of the programs that you have in place. It feels like we're wrapping things up here a little bit. I want to share a couple important things that are happening here in town. September 1st, on a Saturday morning at 9 a.m., we're doing what's called the Castle Rock Day of Prayer, where all the churches in town have gotten together, and our mayor, Jennifer Green, has a little message. She wants to invite us to come to the Castle Rock Day of Prayer. I don't know if you've ever done it before, Cory, but it's pretty awesome. It's the 4th annual one that we've done. Check out this quick promo from our mayor.
You are the light of the world, like a city on a hilltop that cannot be hidden. Castle Rock is our city on a hilltop.
Colossians 4 says, be faithful to pray as intercessors who are fully alert and giving thanks to God.
Castle Rock Day of Prayer, it is coming. Mark your calendar. Don't miss it. It's a great time to worship together.
I am inviting you, imploring you, encouraging you, come to the Castle Rock Day of Prayer.
So this will be our 4th annual Castle Rock Day of Prayer. I encourage you, come on out. If you've been there, you know the power that's there. If you haven't, come on out and pray with us.
Since the time we started 4 years ago, things have changed. The whole atmosphere has changed in Castle Rock and the surrounding area.
It's been an awesome time to pray with the people in our community. It's going to be a great time. We'll be praying together. We'll be doing worship together.
To unite together, pray for one another.
Please come out and pray with us in a spirit of unity, lifting up the name of Jesus.
We hope to see you then. And please know we pray for you every day.
I hope to see you there on that morning where we get to come and just rejoice in the name of our Savior and lift up His name together.
September 1st, come on out. Stand in the gap on behalf of all the people that we love and we know.
Gather together as the Church of Castle Rock and pray together and seek God's face for our community.
I hope you'll join us for the 4th annual Castle Rock Day of Prayer on September 1st. You don't want to miss it.
Let's seek God's face and His glory for our community.
I want to encourage you to be a part of the upcoming 4th annual Castle Rock Day of Prayer on Saturday, September 1st at Festival Park from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m., where we're going to come together and pray and worship our God. Be a part of this. God bless you.
Awesome. Castle Rock Day of Prayer, Saturday, September 1st, 9 a.m. at Festival Park. Hope you can make it there. Once again, don't forget about my new series that started at church called Ask Anything. Message me your questions in the comment thread on whatever stream you happen to be watching this on. And we have the Haven Block Party this Friday night. From 6:30 to 9:30 in the Belgian Court cul-de-sac. We'd love to have you there as well. Dr. Cory, please tell us a little bit about Campbell Chiropractic. What are you offering packages-wise with, I don't know, maybe doing holistic care or chiropractic or diet and exercise? What do you got going this month at Campbell Chiropractic?
So what's going on right now is back to school.
Right.
So back to school is sports physicals. So we do a lot of sports physicals in the office. With the sports physicals, we've added on to that. So we do a sports physical. We do a pre-concussion evaluation, which is, they still do them at the school as well, but I do an additional one. It's a simple, really fast, takes about a minute to do. And what it is it's basically eye function. How are those eyes working? Because if you get a concussion, those eyes aren't going to work the same.
Right.
So we can go back and redo that if you do get a concussion. It also allows us the opportunity to say, when somebody does come in with a concussion, these are the nutritional things that we can do for you to get you out of this and recover from this concussion as quickly as possible. And then the last piece in that process is we do, the purpose of sports physicals is there have been kids that have died on the sport field.
It's terrible.
It happens. It does. And typically those are heart-related conditions. So our job when we do a sports physical is listen to the heart and listen to the lungs. Well, guess what? You can't hear anything really when you're listening to the heart and to the lungs. You can listen and you can be like, is that a murmur? Maybe, maybe not, I'm not sure. But the cardiologists, they hear the same thing through a stethoscope. So usually they have to set you through all kinds of different programs, different testing, EKGs, all this different stuff. And many times those don't catch it because they're not actually catching the electrical impulses, but they're not catching the actual physical activity of what the heart's physically doing. So we have a fun little machine called a heart sound recorder.
Nice.
And this heart sound recorder, what it does is it's a seismograph. And what it's doing is we put it near each valve of the heart. And that seismograph actually tells you what is happening at that valve in the heart. And when it's doing that, we can see when the valve isn't closing when it's supposed to, or it's opening too early. Or one of the big ones we had in our office is we had one that the two valves in the ventricle, the big part of the heart that's pushing all the blood either to the body or to the lungs, when those were pumping, they weren't pumping together. They were pumping, close. So pump, close. So it was separated. It's called a split S1. All we needed to do was give the person vitamin B. We gave him some vitamin B. I made him chew it up. It was fantastic because our supplements don't always taste good. They're not like they're not Flintstone vitamins where you chew them up and they're so good. It's full of sugar too.
Yeah.
They don't always taste good. So watching him chew it up and go through the process, but 30 minutes later we redid the heart scan and his heart sound recording looked virtually perfect.
Wow.
Just in 30 minutes.
Vitamin B could correct a heart rhythmic issue?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
That's amazing.
Yep.
That's amazing.
Yep.
Good.
So we do all those types of things at the office. So what allows me to do when I'm doing those sports physicals is say, hey, your heart isn't doing what it's supposed to. It's not beating regularly. It's not doing this. It's not, and it gives me a 15-second snippet of each valve of the heart to see what's going on. And we catch things that you'll never catch just trying to listen. So I look at our physical and we're like, oh, you're a little more expensive than the little clinic. Well, yeah, but we're doing a little more.
Right.
And we have a little more.
Yeah.
And we create a relationship there too. And then I also can tell them, hey, when you come in and you sprain your ankle out on the football field or out on the volleyball court, or you hurt a wrist or you hurt an elbow or you hurt a shoulder, and like, oh, you're going to be out for 6 to 8 weeks because it's going to take this long to heal. Me as a chiropractor says, yeah, let's put it back where it's supposed to be so it can heal faster. And now maybe we can give you some collagen or give you something to actually boost that healing process. And now you're back on the court in 3 weeks instead of 6 to 8 weeks.
Right.
How fast can we get you back better functioning? And the answer to that always is the faster you come and see me when there's a problem, the faster we can get you back on the court and get you doing what you want to be doing.
That's awesome. I also want to thank Dr. Cory. He's also been a sponsor of the Douglas County's ladies golf team all these years that Lily has been playing. This is going to be her 4th year being a starter with the varsity team at DC Huskies, and we appreciate Dr. Cory supporting local athletics and certainly Lily's golf career here in high school. And so it's been great to have you on. Any final thoughts, final words before we sign off here today?
The only other thing we do in the office is we do orthotics for people, functional orthotics, and we also do a detox program. So if somebody doesn't or can't or is not getting the results they should be getting, weight loss wise, functionality wise, hormone issues, all those different things, our detox program, 3 months long, and that's many times just to start for some of these people. But we get them going, we get them functioning, we get them to the part where their body can actually start dropping weight like it's supposed to, give them direction, and we use, it's not quite full keto. It's a little less keto, probably more Mediterranean in the process. 60% fat, 30% protein, 10% carbohydrate on our side of how we're getting or the caloric intake coming into the body. So we use that. We use intermittent fasting. We use fasting. We do different things to change up what the body's doing. So we have lots of opportunities for people and what they could do to change their life, change their health, change their function. And the best thing is people who are afraid of chiropractic care, they don't have to get adjusted in the office. But every one of my patients who has ever been adjusted in my office, who is afraid of chiropractic care or who was hurt by chiropractic care in the past, it was too aggressive for them, they do well in my office.
That's awesome. It's
a less aggressive approach to the adjusting process.
Yeah. It's good. Well, thank you so much for being on today. It's been a great day. Again, if you have any questions regarding the podcast or what we've talked about today, I would love to have you contact me. I got this flipped here. Contact me at pastorwayneH@mac.com. You can call the church office 303-524-4000. Share this podcast, like it online, just support this. We're trying to grow it organically. If you'd like to be one of the sponsors for the podcast, hit me up, message me. We're doing 10 more episodes of free advertising for people, and I would love to have like a link or a way for you to measure when you're getting some hits or shares. I don't know if you've gotten anybody contacting you because of the podcast yet, but
don't know yet.
It's hard to measure sometimes.
I try to keep my phone in my pocket when I'm doing this. It doesn't look like I'm focused on something
I didn't mean right now, the very second, but I mean since we've started. We're on episode 21. So,
when it comes into that process, though, when somebody comes into my office, we do always ask where they came from.
That's good.
And lately, it's been Yelp and Google have been a lot of our referrals.
It's good, man.
So we must be
doing
high enough on the.
You're doing something
on the
right.
list somewhere.
Yes. Well, thanks again for joining us for the Wayne Feeds Daily. We'll jump in again tomorrow. Thank you, Dr. Cory Campbell. Have a great day, great afternoon. We'll see everybody tomorrow. Take care.
All right. Thanks a lot.